Good morning, Turkey, and good evening, Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to our second webinar as Turkey-New Zealand Business Council. Today, we have a great program to unite the Turkish and New Zealand companies. We have honorable guests to deliver opening speeches and presentations. Then we will continue with sectoral networking sessions. Her Excellency Wendy Hinton, the Ambassador of New Zealand to Turkey, His Excellency Ahmet Ergin, the Ambassador of Turkey to New Zealand, Ms. Robin Galloway, Chairperson of New Zealand-Turkey Business Council, Ms. Catherine Beard, Executive Director of Business NZ, Ms. Elçin İdiz, Head of East Asia and Pacific Countries Department of Ministry of Trade, Mr. Volkan Yüzer, the Asia Pacific Regional Director of DEİK, distinguished members of the Turkish-New Zealand Business Council, guests and press members. Welcome to DEİK's webinar on Interconnected Business Series, Turkey-New Zealand. We are getting used to the new normal. With the end of third quarter, we are seeing a K-shaped recovery in the world, and some countries and companies are doing better, while others are getting worse. Vaccination for COVID-19, international political environment after US elections, and 2021 projections will be key for everyone in the world. Despite the global volatility, Turkey has become one of the only 4 countries in the world that increased its exports. We will be watching key geopolitical issues and macroeconomic policies, such as fighting inflation in the last quarter in our country. We need to find new markets and opportunities during these times. We also need to be creative. Webinars and conference calls have been very helpful for us as we in DEİK manage to gather businesses all around the world. DEİK has been doing a great job with many webinars and video calls so far. As the chairperson of the Turkish-New Zealand Business Council, I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern for her re-election. She is a great leader and example to all over the world. As Turkey-New Zealand Business Council, we continue to work during pandemic and conducted a very useful webinar on Back to Business on June 30th. Following the webinar, we received so many support, and today we are accelerating our efforts to contribute to the relations of both countries. Today, it is with great pleasure that DEİK Turkey-New Zealand Business Council is welcoming our speakers, Ms. Robin Galloway, the Chairperson of New Zealand-Turkey Business Council, Her Excellency Wendy Hinton, Ambassador of New Zealand to Turkey, His Excellency Ahmet Ergin, Ambassador of Turkey to New Zealand. Now, in our webinar, after listening to the opening speeches, we are going to have 2 presentations. It will be business and investment opportunities in New Zealand and Turkey to be conducted by Ms. Catherine Beard and Ms. Elçin İdiz. After the presentations, we will have sectorial networking sessions in 3 different virtual rooms. I am now leaving the floor to Ms. Robin Galloway. Robin.
Thank you. Thank you, Eamon, and welcome everybody. I'm going to talk briefly and then I will endeavour to share my screen. So it's a great pleasure to be here representing the New Zealand-Turkey Business Council. And it's great to see that the interest that's growing between Turkey and New Zealand, both at an economic level and business level. So I'm just going to now go to share screen. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we see.
Good, thank you. So I've started off my slideshow with talking about the New Zealand-Turkey Business Council. One, we can be stronger together. And coming to New Zealand, it's a little bit like leading the way to one of the world's best kept secrets. Some people know a lot about New Zealand and Turkey, and I have visited there many times and had the pleasure to meet many Turkish people. But others don't know so much about us. And even though we are some distance away, it's amazing with technology, actually, these days, we're quite close. But the most important thing is that we have a good heart for Turkey and we're keen to expand our relations there. So New Zealand is a dynamic country, people and companies. So today, let's find our perfect partners for our collective business innovation and strategic growth. So something about New Zealand. Some people think that the nickname Kiwi comes from the kiwi fruit, but actually it comes from our native kiwi bird. And the kiwi comes out only at night, and also, very importantly, it's flightless. It's still alive here in New Zealand, so if you ever come over, you can see our kiwi bird. But New Zealanders, unlike the native kiwi bird, like to go out and explore the world. So tourism and trade are very much co-partners. New Zealand, with its population of 5 million, 3 million of our inhabitants have passports. And I guess that's part of the fact we're an island country. To go anywhere, we need to jump on a plane and go. So for us, traveling to Turkey is nothing because we're used to going to Europe, to the UK. So it's only 24 hours these days when we can fly again. As a boutique tour operator, my company, Innovative Travel, has specialised in Turkey as a key destination for the past 30 years. With fantastic feedback from our clients, Turkey's famous for its hospitality. And unfortunately, many more New Zealanders visit Turkey than the other way around, like tens of thousands of more each year when our borders were open. So we hope to reverse that sometime very closely in the future. But today it's time to discover more about New Zealand. It's a country full of astounding natural wonders. We have the two main islands, the North Island, the South Island. And as you can see from these pictures, geysers, geothermal, are part of our DNA. The history of New Zealand began almost before, the history of innovation began in New Zealand almost before the word was invented. When the first British immigrants arrived in the early 1850s, my ancestor David Galloway from Scotland amongst them, there were less than 1,000 Europeans living in New Zealand. So as such, they were faced with a rugged, natural and diverse landscape. And with ships arriving very intermittently, maybe every 6 months or a year, new ways had to be quickly discovered to conquer their new surroundings. So from the mountains to the sea, rivers, lakes, fjords, and geysers, the challenges began, and so also our history of innovation. Today, we welcome creative New Zealand companies and their representatives who continue to innovate, including Tate Radio, Delman Architects, Sequent, FlightSail, Frontiera, Scalera Industries, Compact Sorting Equipment, Apex Values, New Zealand Frost Bands, DH Systems, Art Day, Becker Engineering, Robinson Seismic, Kiwi Health Tech, PropSpeed, Hamilton Jet, Pera, Turkish Eatery, and others. And we do have a couple of apologies due to some of the reps are in places where the weather is no good and in Asia and things, and they're just unable to join us tonight, but their Turkish representatives will be with you. So let's have a look, take a snapshot at the current trade between New Zealand and Turkey. Well, in this case, Turkey's winning. So the top line is Turkish imports to New Zealand, and the bottom line is Turkish exports to, New Zealand exports to Turkey. This is in the last quarter ending June. However, in the process of setting up this webinar on Zoom, we discovered that there's a number of New Zealand companies who are actually exporting to perhaps Europe and then re-exporting to Turkey. And the reason for that is some fairly high tariffs that we still face. So our councils, New Zealand Turkey Council, Turkey New Zealand Council, DEİK, we want to work together so that when the JEC, the Joint Economic Commission, occurs next year at a government-to-government level, that we have the opportunity to present some of these barriers to recording or increasing trade. New Zealand exports to Turkey. Dairy product, optical, medical and measuring equipment, cereal preparations, animal products, and machinery. Turkey exports to New Zealand vehicles, machinery, fruits and nuts, and I have to say on a personal note, very popular over here, electrical machinery and equipment, inorganic chemicals and compounds. In a COVID-19 environment, it's time to expand current relationships with New Zealand, and together we can commit to new efficiencies, new partnerships, new friendships, new supply lines, and new technologies. So let's get ready for new business adventures and find some new ways to lift off. And by the way, that's a jet boat designed by Hamilton Jet, the original inventors of the jet boat. So thank you to the DEİK team, to yourself, Eamon, to the Excellencies, Wendy Hinton, Erga Arman, and to our co-presenters. And I also want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, and a very, very warm welcome to you all.
Thank you, Robin, for the opening remarks. Now, Her Excellency Wendy Hinton will be delivering her opening speech. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Mr. Hinton. Is Mrs. Hinton online?
Sorry, we were muted. Can you hear me now?
Okay, welcome.
Okay,
Welcome.
so I'll start all over again then. Thanks. Sorry, kia ora. Kia ora. Tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning, everybody. Ambassador Ahmed, Eamon, Robin, friends and colleagues, thank you for joining us today. It's good to be here. As you will have gathered from Robin's comments, New Zealand is a very young trading nation. Comparatively, Turkey is akin, as we see it, to a much older brother, a much older country. But like most positive relationships, we can learn from each other. While we are very distant from each other in terms of supply chains, we both thrive and rely on interconnectivity. The global approach to trade and business is and always has been part of our joint story. You might know a little bit about New Zealand's business background. You might have seen these charts that come up from the World Bank and others ranking New Zealand. We usually come up pretty well. In 2020, for the fourth year running, New Zealand was ranked by the World Bank as top of the class for ease of doing business. So we're pretty consistent there. And over the last 3 decades, we've abolished our protective economy, and our average tariff rates across all products are now a little more than 2%. And trade makes up more than 60% of our total economic activity. So we're very trade dependent. Today, we're one of the world's freest and most competitive economies, and underpinning this are our like-minded relationships and a rules-based international trading system. But in these days of COVID, the urgency to bolster our economic links is even greater. It's even more critical as we focus on recovering from the knock-on impacts of the pandemic. And we know that while recent research that while consumer priorities have changed, economic change in the current climate, their needs remain fundamentally the same. The challenge is now to reimagine growth plans, secure supply chains, and to take the opportunity to expand markets and diversify business partners, and that's a critical point for New Zealand. So this is a great and opportune time to take a fresh look at what New Zealand and Turkey can do to update and enlarge our business relationship. We've been talking about it for a long time, but now we just really need to get down to real business. Our economic cooperation agreements were instigated in 1990, and political cooperation mechanisms were established in 2000, followed by further agreements in agriculture, aviation and education a few years later. Unfortunately, these agreements have never been fully utilised, and there's vast untapped potential in our trade relationship. With that in mind, we look forward to the next meeting of the Joint Economic Committee, or JEC, between the two governments in early 2021 after a hiatus of several years. This event today, as I said, is a really welcome one. I'm sure you'll see opportunities and hopefully find connections and counterparts who share your business views and interests. I've got a lot of notes here about our trade profile, but Robin's already covered a lot of that. But just to suffice to say that that we have complementary industries and production, and we share a lot of common markets of interest, including in the Asia region, in the UK, in the EU and Australia. And our trade data shows that the best results come out of areas where we work together. Turkey produces many products from top quality New Zealand materials, and these Turkish products are sold in turn to manufacturers in Europe, East Asia, and the United States. One good example of this is animal-derived products, such as raw materials from, we provide to Turkey raw materials which they process into things like casings, leather goods and yarns. And these products are then sold on to the rest of the world, sometimes coming all the way back to New Zealand. So I guess it's what you might call, in some ways, a circular economy. So for our Turkish private sector friends, I hope you find it a really worthwhile opportunity to meet with some leading New Zealand companies in a number of sectors and hear about import opportunities. As I said, I could go on at length about all the good things that we do, but you will hear about that firsthand, and you've had a little bit of an overview already. So, grateful thanks to the organisers, Robin, Eamon and DEİK, and to everybody who's taken the initiative to join us today. It's a really important step forward to realising the very latent potential of the relationship, the business relationship between us. In my view, and I think in everybody's view, cooperation and resource sharing is the way to get ahead. We all benefit, and future generations will thank us for it as well. So I'd just like to finish up with a Maori phrase, which I'm keen on banding around these days, and it is Naku te roro, no te roro, ka ora ai te iwi. With your basket and my basket, the people will live. So let's do things together to our mutual benefit. No reira tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, His Excellency Ahmet Ergin will be delivering his opening speech. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Günaydın, good evening, and kia ora. It's so nice, although being so far away, it's so nice seeing Ambassador Hinton, Mr. Hitai and Robin together in this digital platform. Firstly, I would like to thank the co-chairs of the Turkish New Zealand Business Council, Ms. Robin Galloway and Mr. Emin Hitai, for organizing this timely and creative meeting. As you had outlined, Mr. Hitai, it is important to be creative these days within the framework of the unprecedented days that we have been going through. I also would like to thank the distinguished business people who are participating both from our countries today. I am glad to learn that the number of participants in this meeting reaches almost around 100, I believe. And it is also excellent that representatives from a wide range of sectors, including energy, tourism, construction, engineering, food, health, aviation, are among us today. I think I don't need to repeat the challenges we are facing today. As members of Turkey's and New Zealand's business communities, you are aware of those challenges more than anybody else. The world economy, including our countries, is going through unprecedented difficult times for obvious reasons, and there is no clear end to this in sight. COVID-19 caught the world off guard. The virus is proceeding in waves, with countries succumbing and set to recover at different times. What is clear is that the virus and its aftermath look likely to be with us for some time. Against this background, there is a clear need to keep trade flowing to ensure the supply of essential products and send a signal of confidence for the global economy. Trade is essential to save both lives and livelihoods. Out of every great challenge arises a greater opportunity, and it's hard to think of a greater challenge than that we face right now with COVID-19. We need to be and have to be hopeful, focus on lessons to adjust to the new normal and improve. One major takeaway is that the most significant challenges we face today are the global ones, and we can only deal with these challenges by international cooperation and solidarity. This pandemic proved it once again. These problems require the international community to come together and seek solutions collectively. I consider international trade as a part of this cooperation. New Zealand is a trade nation, and so is Turkey. There are no political problems between our countries. On the contrary, we have a unique friendship relation. This is a perfect first step to build even better economic and trade relations on. We have to fulfill this potential. The physical distance between our countries has remained a significant obstacle, rather a psychological one than actual, in my opinion. Today, we face the possibility that this perception of distance of the past will change and transform. Both our countries have incredibly dynamic private sectors and business communities. This very meeting and number of participants show that no matter how devastating the conditions are, these vibrant and active business communities are able to find a way to survive and get even more potent. COVID-19, on top of its damage to our societies and economies, expedites to change in business practices. We have witnessed a considerable increase in online shopping, contactless exchange of goods or finances, demand for certain goods and services which were not there before, and many other new trends. New Zealand made new digital trade agreements, both bilaterally with some other countries and through multilateral platforms. Turkey, located at the intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa, has proved itself a reliable trade partner with its 83 million population and her dynamic business community. Many studies around the world show that Turkey has the potential to become one of the alternative supplier candidates in the new normal. Turkey, similarly, as a trade nation, New Zealand has a great capacity first and foremost in agriculture, dairy, meat, education, and tourism sectors, but not limited to those. New Zealand is a key and gateway to the Pacific. There is great potential for our countries to increase our trade and mutual and joint investments. I call both our business communities today to get rid of the archaic perception of distance between our countries. Turkey and New Zealand have the great potential to be each other's trade and investment hubs in their regions. We are always here to help you, if and when needed be. Thank you, and I wish all you success in today's meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, we will have two presentation sessions. We will begin with Ms. Catherine Beard and then continue with the second presentation to be delivered by Ms. Elçin Edis. Dear Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to share my screen. Thank you so much, everybody. Can everyone see that and you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Great. Look, it's fantastic to be here again. I know we've got a lot of really great New Zealand business people on this call, and we've got a lot of really great Turkish business people as well. So I hope that your discussions, when you get to them, will be very productive. As such, I won't be taking too much of your time because I think that's where you will get the value. So just a wee bit about New Zealand, and I will just go through this quite quickly. A few key facts for those who are not too familiar with us. We are the first country to see the sun rise. We are similar in our landmass in size to the United Kingdom, but we've only got 5 million people. So there's only a few of us for a fairly big country. We have a very temperate climate, and that means that we can make more food and export more food than we can obviously eat. So we can feed 40 million people, which is quite a feat. We're an earthquake-prone country like Turkey, and we were very concerned and sad to hear of the latest earthquake that you have recently suffered, and our thoughts are with you. We know what that's like. It's very challenging. We have 80% renewable energy. Geothermal, hydro and wind are the main renewable energy sources. Our government has a goal to get to 100% renewable energy in the interests of climate change. I think that's quite a big, audacious goal, but we'll see how we go. That last 20% is very expensive, I understand. A big percentage of our goods exports are actually food and beverage. And in tough times, such as we're experiencing now with COVID, and even after the global financial crisis, the fact that most countries in the world prioritize the import of food means it's actually a very good thing for our economy. We do have an increasing high-tech digital and film capability, and that's all growing. The latest high-tech business we have in New Zealand is actually called Rocket Lab, and we're sending private rockets into space for satellites and things like that, and on behalf of NASA. So we're not just a big farm, we have more strings to our bow. We really support free trade, obviously, in the rules-based system. That's really, really important to us. And I think, you know, wherever there are tariffs, particularly on food around the world, that makes it pretty hard for our exporters. So we're very much into doing free trade deals. We would love to do one with Turkey, hopefully sometime in the future. And just note there that 70% of our goods exports go to countries in the Asia Pacific. So Asia's become a very big success story for New Zealand. And that's in part helped by the fact we have a lot of free trade agreements with Asia Pacific countries. We were the first to do a free trade agreement with China, and our exports have quadrupled there since 2008. And today they are our largest trading partner. So I think in today's COVID world, that's actually quite important because we can see that China is probably going to come back economically stronger more quickly than a lot of countries. So food and beverage exports, as I said, they make up quite a percentage of our exports, and this wee chart here just shows that actually for this year, 2020, which is the red colour, it's quite hard to see, but it just really shows that these exports have held up pretty well despite COVID. I'm saying in this slide, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Our wine exports and our meat exports and our dairy and our fresh fruit have all been very steady, and that's been fantastic. But of course, tourism was a big part of our economy, and export education was as well, and they've been very hard hit by the COVID situation. We do have some challenges, as I'm sure all countries do currently. We are concerned about repeated lockdowns in the business sector and how many of those we can survive. We're very lucky at the moment that we are not locked down, where we have no community spread of COVID, so we are living in quite a privileged little bubble, actually, and it feels a lot like business as usual. We are having trouble, though, getting skilled and critical people into New Zealand as we would like them in the business community, and that's because the borders are effectively shut off. So that's obviously not sustainable, and we can't, that can't go on forever. We have had freight and logistics challenges, as I'm sure everybody has. Air freight's become very expensive, obviously without passengers there to cross-subsidise it, but actually our shipping trade has gone very well, so that has been that's been very encouraging. We do want to get reconnected to the rest of the world. Certainly the business community does, and we're pushing for that, and we're advocating for a smart border and maybe using more technology to do contact tracing. We think a vaccine could be some time away, so we do think New Zealand needs to be working on how we reintegrate with the rest of the world. Reasons to stay positive for us, of course, successfully keeping COVID at bay. Our economy is operating at nearly normal capacity, apart from the sectors I mentioned, which have been hard hit. We do want to have a smart border. We have hopes, like I'm sure Turkey does, for a vaccine. We do have a strong New Zealand brand that supports our exports, and we are a place where talent wants to live and invest, and that's important for any country. And we have a greatly expanded network of free trade agreements. We've just had an election, as Eamon noted at the start of the webinar. That's a picture of Jacinda Ardern, who has done a great job with a lot of challenges, I think, in the first 3 years of their government. They got a very strong mandate from the New Zealand public, so they really can get on and get things done in the next 3 years. We are a good place to do business, and Wendy touched on some of these points, so I would certainly encourage Turkish business people to keep us in mind. We rate #1, and we do consistently, actually, on the ease of doing business. It's very easy to do business here. #2 for one of the best countries for business. Infrastructure, we're a young nation with a growing population, and we have opportunities for infrastructure development. We have a pipeline of over 125 billion of infrastructure projects over the next decade. So if there's expertise in Turkey, and I understand there is, for these sorts of infrastructure projects, there's going to be lots of opportunities. Auckland is our biggest city, and it has had a population growth of 35% between 2000 and 2016. And as I said right at the start, we're actually a very big country with a small population. So I can see really only growth going forward into the future. I just put this slide in here because it sort of goes to the high tech things that we're doing in New Zealand. We ranked 3rd out of 139 nations for global creativity. So we're very good at creating intellectual property. Because a lot of our companies are small to medium in size, they're very nimble and they're very quick to innovate and get things to market. So we would love to partner with you. We're very, very happy to be sharing this information with you, and I do hope that the business people on the call have some really good discussions. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Catherine, for the presentation. Now, Ms. Elçin Ediz will conduct the presentation regarding the Turkish market. Elçin Hanım.
Teşekkür ederim. Distinguished ambassadors, distinguished members of the Turkey-New Zealand Business Council, and dear business people and colleagues. I also would like to thank the Foreign Economic Relations Board and to the members of the Turkey-New Zealand Business Council for keeping up their efforts to continue with these webinars, series of webinars. A couple of months ago, exactly 3 months ago, I had a chance to participate in one of those webinars, which was held with Chile, where I was working with the Embassy of Chile as trade counselor. It was my last official event that I gathered. And by coincidence, this will be my first of this gathering to continue with New Zealand, as I assumed my department, my new role, a couple of days ago in the Ministry of Trade. So this is really a good example of business, private and public sector coordination, and I believe these kind of gatherings will be very much important in terms of fostering trade and economic relations between Turkey and the selected countries. So especially important, I would like to remark that this is especially important in the COVID-19 era, where we have difficulties in coming together face to face with business people and with all stakeholders. Taking this opportunity, I would like to cover a couple of issues that are falling under the file of trade and economic relations that is existing between New Zealand and Turkey, as well as the current business climate in making business in Turkey. So in terms of bilateral trade relations, as was said, agreement on the establishment of the Joint Economic Commission between Turkey and New Zealand, dated 1990, constitutes the legal framework upon which countries are building up their trade and economic relations. Joint Economic Commission established by the agreement is the sole standing body, as we do not have any other legal framework, or neither a legal framework nor a kind of free trade agreement existing between the two countries. So it is the main body, sole body, through which which countries, I mean New Zealand and Turkey, can continue dialogue for trade, economy and investment related issues. According to our data, as of 2019, trade volume between Turkey and New Zealand is around $162.5 million, and our records indicate that our exports to New Zealand is about 112.9 million. We have a trade surplus in terms of our bilateral trade with New Zealand. And as of the first 9 months of 2020, imports from New Zealand is around $49.5 million, and bilateral trade volume between the mentioned period is around 90.5 million. Definitely, these figures are far away from reflecting the potential, real potential of the two countries. We have a lot to explore in terms of fostering our trade and economic relations, and these kind of gatherings will be very much influential in doing so. When it comes to exported and imported goods, in terms of our bilateral trade in 2019, Turkey's major exported goods to New Zealand were motor vehicles, bicycles, motorcycles, fruits and vegetables, especially grapes, some electrical machinery and some parts of it, as well as textile products. In terms of the major imported goods from New Zealand, it is very much reflecting the main structure of New Zealand's economy. These were mainly meat and meat products, as well as dairy and milk products. Joint Economic Commission meetings have a very broad scope. They're covering not only trade issues, but also trade-related issues from health to tourism, culture, agriculture, whatever. So that requires very close coordination with all stakeholders, both from public and private sector. And I'm happy to say that Ministry of Trade has a real good track record in making coordination efficiently with all stakeholders. And unfortunately, it was last time when we held the last Joint Economic Commission meeting, it was 8 years ago in 2012. In fact, by the beginning of 2020, according to what I was told, there was principal understanding between New Zealand and Turkey to hold the next session of the Joint Economic Commission, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to postpone. But we are ready, of course, to hold consultations with the ambassadors, both in Ankara, embassies, both in Ankara and in Wellington, and also the business people to come up with a new time setting for organizing the next session, hopefully by 2021. We are, of course, very much open for it. We can even hold it if the conditions do not change virtually as well. Let me also note that the most of the times we are preferring to organize Joint Economic Commission meetings in parallel to business forums. So for the next session, this is also in our agenda to hold a kind of business forum while we were bringing together Joint Economic Commission of New Zealand and Turkey. This we believe will be very much also helpful in terms of bringing together the business people of both countries. Coming to the investment climate in Turkey, we believe, of course, investment is very much important in terms of trade of countries, and also this is something complementary to strengthen trade relations between Turkey and New Zealand as well. I'm happy to say throughout the last decade, Turkey has been implementing an active policy to improve its investment environment. In line with the Foreign Direct Investment Frame Law, which was passed by the Parliament back in 2003, this is the first installment of significant economic reforms that Turkey undertake to change the investment environment in the country and make it much more attractive to global investors. For the time being, we have low guaranteed equal treatment for all investors without differentiating the source of the capital, the investors. As of today, all international investors can enter into Turkey without preliminary authorization request. They can make transfer dividends without any restrictions. All investors have the access capacity for real estate, and they are protected against, for example, expropriation, and there is no limitation to hire any expatriates either. So Turkey has witnessed remarkable achievements in terms of domestic growth, in terms of economic development in recent years, especially in the past 2 decades, with a GDP growing at an average annual rate of 5.6% during the period of 2003 to 2018. Turkish economy has been one of the fastest growing in the world. Strong macroeconomic fundamentals, dynamic and well-educated young people, geostrategic location, well-functioning and internationally well-integrated market structure, among others, well-positioned Turkey to be a strong investment partner for all countries, including New Zealand. I should also note that there is strong cultural, economic and historic ties of Turkey with the countries in the surrounding region. This makes also Turkey, this offers also for New Zealand to make kind of joint ventures in third countries as well, not only in Turkish market, but to make similar kind of events, joint ventures in terms of collaborating investment in third markets. Similarly, with its strong geostrategic location, Turkey is offering an important access to multiple markets for foreign investors and traders. For instance, within 4 hours flight, Turkey has access capacity to multiple markets of $25 trillion GDP, $25 trillion of GDP, $7.8 trillion of trade, and 1.7 billion of people. This should be benefited by New Zealand as well. The government is committed to transform Turkey into a $1 trillion economy by 2023. And within this framework, there are mega projects, mega infrastructural projects in the pipeline. Global investors that are opting out to be part of Turkey's economic and social growth have been arising in parallel to developments in the economy and in terms of investment climate. The total amount of foreign direct investment as a solid indicator of this development to Turkey between 2003 and the first half of 2020 is over $220 billion. With the vision of transforming Turkey into one of the top 10, world's top 10 country, the government has far-reaching goals, and these include, for example, investing in approximately 30 to 35,000 megawatts of renewable energy, and that is including solar and wind energy projects, building new power plants and increasing the electricity production and consumption to 150,000 megawatts, and renovating all risky residences within a program of urban transformation. Last but not the least, I would like to mention that Turkey is also very much well aware of the potential that is existing in the Asia-Pacific region. That was the reason by the last year we started a new vision for the Asian Pacific region, which is called as Asia Anew, in order to build up stronger ties with Asian countries, and we are more than ready to do so with our colleagues in New Zealand, with the people of New Zealand, business circles in New Zealand. We will be doing our best, starting from the next session of the Joint Economic Commission, hopefully in 2021. We will be doing our best, pouring our all efforts to strengthen existing trade and economic relations with New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Yalçın Hanım. We have listened informative presentations, and I am sure it will help everyone in regards to their business plans in both countries. Our webinar is now came to an end. We have a lot of interest. I would like to thank our guests for the webinar and for your participants. Your input was very helpful for everyone who wanted to have a better understanding of New Zealand economy and how we can cooperate as Turkey. Our sectoral networking sessions are starting now. Please click the links that they sent to you and you will be directed into the networking rooms which you have selected when you signed up for the webinar. I wish a successful and fruitful business meetings. Thank you all for your participation and your time. Have a good day.